ಹಲೋ
ಹಲೋ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಬನ್ನಿ, ಅವರು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವಿರಲ್ವಾ ದೀಪ ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್. ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಯ್ತಂದರೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಅಜ್ಜಿ, ಇದು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ವಾ? ಅಜ್ಜಿ
ಅಜ್ಜಿ
ಅದನ್ನು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಸತ್ಯ, ಮೆಲ್ಲಿಗೆ.
ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲಮ್ಮ.
ನಾವು ಕೈ ಮುಗಿಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತಲ್ಲ.
ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಎದ್ದು ನಿಂತು ಗೌರವವನ್ನು ಸೂಚಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೋರಿಕೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಗಣ್ಯರು ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಅಲಂಕರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೋರಿಕೆ.
I request all gathered here to kindly be standing for our college anthem.
भरित तत्त्वपूर्ण ध्येय संयुता शेषाद्रिपुर विद्या संस्था जयतु सर्वदा शारदाम्ब करुणया सीमयान्वहम् मौल्यमय शिक्षणे वीक्षिणामृता संस्थिति सहिता समृद्धिर्युता सन्नीतिराजिता नैकाभिः शाखाभिः सह विभूषिता विश्वस्तर विद्या सुकौशलमतिरा समाजाभिवृद्धिपर कार्यतत्परा सत्कर्म धर्म सुगुण शान्ति बोधदृष्टिरा समत्व साधिका लोकमानिता आनन्दामृतदा सत्त्वभरित तत्त्वपूर्ण ध्येय संयुता शेषाद्रिपुर विद्या संस्था जयतु सर्वदा जयतु सर्वदा जयतु सर्वदा जयतु सर्वदा.
All kindly be seated.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಗೌರವಿಸು ಜೀವನವ, ಗೌರವಿಸು ಚೇತನವ, ಆರದೋ ಜಗವೆಂದು ಭೇದವೆಣಿಸದಿರು, ಹೋರುವುದೇ ಜೀವನ ಸಮೃದ್ಧಿಗೋಸುಗ, ನಿನಗೆ ದಾರಿ ಆತ್ಮೋನ್ನತಿಗೆ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. ನಮ್ಮ DVಜಿಯವರ ಜೀವನ ಸನ್ಮಾರ್ಗದ ಕಗ್ಗದ ಸಾಲುಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ಮರಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿಪುರಂ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣದತ್ತಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಾದ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿಪುರಂ ಪದವಿ ಕಾಲೇಜು ಮೈಸೂರು, ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನಾ ಘಟಕ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ರಕ್ಷಣಾ ದಳ ಮತ್ತು ಆಂತರಿಕ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟ ಭರವಸೆ ಕೋಶ ಇವರ ಸಹಯೋಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಪುರಾತತ್ವ ಮತ್ತು ಇತಿಹಾಸದ ಸ್ಮಾರಕಗಳ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಈ ಕುರಿತಾದ ಪದವಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೊಂದಿಗೆ ಸಂವಹನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಾವಿಂದು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ.
Our heritage talks about the roots of our nation, and monuments are the hooking irons that bind one generation to the next. I, Mrs. Sridevi Prabhu, with my co-host Dr. Lavanya, assistant professors from Sheshadripuram Degree College, Mysuru, delightedly offer the most gracious welcome to all present here. It is said that prayer is man's greatest power. I now call upon Miss Pooja and Miss Harshita Nagadi, our college students, to sing an invocation to the Almighty.
गणराजा गिरिजनन्दना नमो गणराजा गिरिजनन्दना आदिवन्द्यसुरनरपूजित गणराजा गिरिजनन्दना नमो गणराजा गिरिजनन्दना ಆತ್ಮಲಿಂಗಗಳನ್ನು ಒಯ್ಯಲು ಭಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದಲದನು ಆತ್ಮಲಿಂಗಗಳನ್ನು ಒಯ್ಯಲು ಭಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದಲದನು ಶಿವನ ಧ್ಯಾನಿಸಿ ಭುವಿಗಿಳಿಸಿದ ಗಣರಾಜ ಗಿರಿಜನಂದನ ನಮೋ ಗಣರಾಜ ಗಿರಿಜನಂದನ ಹರುಷದಿಂದ ಮನದಿ ಧ್ಯಾನಿಪೆ ಕರುಣಮಯನಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಹರುಷದಿಂದ ಮನದಿ ಧ್ಯಾನಿಪೆ ಕರುಣಮಯನಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಸದ್ಭಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದಲೇ ಆರಾಧಿಪೆ ಗಣರಾಜ ಗಿರಿಜನಂದನ ನಮೋ ಗಣರಾಜ ಗಿರಿಜನಂದನ. Thank you.
Thank you, students.
ಇದೀಗ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸುವ ಸಮಯ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವ ಮಹೋನ್ನತರೊಂದಿಗೆ ಸಕಲರನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಇದೀಗ ಸ್ವಾಗತದ ನುಡಿಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರಾದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸೌಮ್ಯ ಈರಪ್ಪ ಅವರಿಂದ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Sheshadripuram Degree College, Mysore, that is branched out from the prestigious Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Bangalore, is certain on its cardinal objective, that is to create a sonorous impact in education across Mysore. We allied to the maximum protection of ancient monuments and heritage as a part of dissemination of holistic education. In order to actualize it, NSS unit of Sheshadripuram Degree College was constituted in 2017. In the innings of NSS in 5 years is immeasurable. It had restored, conserved and preserved about 8 Kalyanis and 11 temples that dates back to the antiquity. It is with much pride that I welcome you all to this historic event. We are fortunate enough to have the royal presence of His Highness Shri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Vadiyar, the titular Maharaj of Mysore. Your Majesty, we are elated in your presence. Your presence here at this event will not only inspire us all to be highly motivated, but also urge us all to do better in life for humankind. We wholeheartedly welcome you to this august gathering, and we also thank you for accepting our request to grace this much awaited program. Once again, a warm welcome to Your Majesty. We welcome with respect, the Honorary General Secretary of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Dr. Uday P. Krishna, whose credulity on us is always our forte. A warm welcome to you, sir. We are happy with the presence of our mentor, Shri B.A. Anantram, Chairman, Governing Council. A hearty welcome to you, sir. We are pleased to have amongst us respected trustees of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust who have constantly supporting us in all our endeavors. We welcome Shri B.C. Loknath. A warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. W.D. Ashok. A congenial welcome to you, sir. Mr. Shashank. A warm welcome to you, sir. We are pleased with the presence of our life members of Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Shri M.L. Ravi Shankar. A hearty welcome to you, sir. Mr. Shri N.N. Anil Kumar. Thank you for your presence, sir. A hearty welcome to you. We welcome Mrs. Archana Swami N., Principal of Sheshadripuram Independent Pre-University College, to this event. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am. We are delighted to welcome our special invitee, Mr. D.N. Prasad, to this beautiful event. Welcome, sir. We are privileged to welcome Mr. Raghu, Personal Secretary of His Highness, to this program. A hearty welcome to you, sir. We welcome our event partner, Mr. Vivek of Chirag Events, media partner, Mr. Balaji, respected parents and special invitees to this memorable event. We happily welcome the strength of our institution, our students, who are eagerly waiting for this unforgettable day. A warm welcome to all dear students. I welcome all the teaching and non-teaching staff members of Sheshadripuram institutions whose unflagging efforts actualizing the program is remembered forever. Thank you. Once again, welcome one and all. Have a memorable day. Thank you.
ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಿದ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ತಮಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮೇಡಮ್.
Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. As sunlight expels the darkness of night, the lighting of the lamp brings prosperity, blessings, and happiness in our life. To make this program a blessed one, I invite our admirable esteemed dignitaries to inaugurate this program by lighting the lamp.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः
you all the dignitaries.
ಚಿನ್ನದ ನಾಡಿದು ಮೈಸೂರು, ಶ್ರೀಗಂಧದ ಬೀಡಿದು ಮೈಸೂರು, ವೀಣೆಯ ಬೆಡಗಿನ ಮೈಸೂರು, ನಾಲ್ವಡಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣರ ಮೈಸೂರು. ಹಿರಿಯ ಕವಿ BM ಶ್ರೀಕಂಠಯ್ಯ ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಕವನದ ಸಾಲುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಹಿರಿಮೆ, ಗರಿಮೆ, ಸಿರಿ, ಸಂಪತ್ತು, ಸೌಂದರ್ಯದೊಂದಿಗೆ ರಾಜವಂಶಸ್ಥರಾದ ರಾಜರ್ಷಿ ನಾಲ್ವಡಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಮಹಾರಾಜರ ಉತ್ಕೃಷ್ಟ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ವರ್ಣಿಸಿರುವ ಪರಿ ಇದು. ಮೈಸೂರು ರಾಜ್ಯವನ್ನು ಆಳಿದ ಯದುವಂಶದ ಪ್ರಭುಗಳಾದ ದಿವಂಗತ ಶ್ರೀ ಜಯಚಾಮರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಅವರ ಮರಿಮಗರಾದ ರಾಜವಂಶಸ್ಥ ಶ್ರೀ ಯದುವೀರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣದತ್ತ ಚಾಮರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವುದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸುದೈವವೇ ಸರಿ. ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಮನೆತನದಿಂದ ಆಳಲ್ಪಟ್ಟ ಮೈಸೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲೆ, ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ, ಸಂಗೀತ, ನೃತ್ಯ, ವಿದ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸ ಹೀಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಎರಡೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ರಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ತನ್ನ ಹಿರಿಮೆಯನ್ನು ಮೆರೆದ ಈ ಮಹಿಷಪುರದ ರಾಜವಂಶದ 27ನೇ ಅರಸರಾದ ರಾಜವಂಶಸ್ಥರು ಶ್ರೀ ಯದುವೀರ ಕೃಷ್ಣದತ್ತ ಚಾಮರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸುವ ಗೌರವವನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಗಣ್ಯರು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ನೆರವೇರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೋರಿಕೆ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಎರಡು 2019 ಮತ್ತು 2020ನೇ ಸಾಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಉತ್ತಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನಾ ಘಟಕ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗೆ ಭಾಜನವಾಗಿರುವುದು ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಅಂತೆಯೇ ಅದೇ ಸಾಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಾದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಅವರು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಉತ್ತಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಾಧಿಕಾರಿ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಪಡೆದುಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ಸಾಧನೆಯ ಗರಿಯನ್ನು ತಂದುಕೊಡುವಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನಾ ಘಟಕದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಶ್ರಮಿಸಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಅಪಾರ ಸೇವೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಐತಿಹಾಸಿಕ ಕೊಳಗಳ ಪತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ವಚ್ಛತಾ ಕಾರ್ಯ, ಐತಿಹಾಸಿಕ ವೆಲ್ಲೆಸ್ಲಿ ಸೇತುವೆಯ ತ್ಯಾಜ್ಯ ನಿರ್ಮೂಲನೆ, ವಿನಾಶದ ಅಂಚಿಗೆ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದ ಪುರಾತನ ಕಾಲದ ಸೇದುಬಾವಿಗಳ ಪುನರುಜ್ಜೀವನ, 400ರಿಂದ 500 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಯಕಲ್ಪ, ಪುರಾತನ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಮರುಜೀವ ಹೀಗೆ ಅಪೂರ್ವವಾದ ಶ್ರಮದಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಕುರಿತಾದ ದೃಶ್ಯ ಚಿತ್ರಣವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಸಾರ ಮಾಡಲು ಮಾನ್ಯ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಅನುಮತಿ ನೀಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಗೌರವದಿಂದ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಸರನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರ ಕಿರುಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಅನುಷಾ ಅವರನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ.
Good morning, one and all. I, Anusha, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce and Management, take this immense honor to introduce His Highness Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya. Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya is the 27th custodian of erstwhile royal family of the Kingdom of Mysore. Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya was formally adopted by Her Highness Rajmata Dr. Pramoda Devi Odiya, wife of late His Highness Sri Kantadatta Narasimharaja Odiya at the Mysore Palace on 23rd of February 2015. His primary education began at the Vidyaniketan School, Bangalore. He graduated with BA degree at the University of Massachusetts Amherst in the USA with majors in English and economics. In the modern times, with the shift in the political landscape and in the moving of administration, the palace, Mysore, has focused its efforts to be the center of heritage of the Deccan and continues to stress always the importance of history, culture, and tradition of the state. The traditions and practices of the palace, Mysore, are unbroken for the over 400 years for inheriting the same from the Karnataka Vijayanagar Empire, whose legacy is embedded within that of the Odiyas of Mysore. The palace, Mysore, has always strived to highlight these traditions as part of the vibrancy of a state, and it is the view of the current custodian that the rituals, culture, and heritage of the palace should remain of paramount importance. Alongside the contribution of the Mysore traditions, Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya also is aligned with the causes that promote wildlife conservation, environmental protection, and access to education. Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya is married to Trishika Kumari Odiya, who hails from the Dungarpur royal family in Rajasthan, and have a son, Adyavir Narasimharaja Odiya. Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya holds the following responsibilities: President and Trustee, Sri Jai Chamaraja Aris Educational Trust, Mysore; Chairman, Berunda Foundation; Ambassador and Advisory Board, Kalisu Foundation, Mysore. We are privileged and honored to have His Highness Sri Yaduvir Krishnadatta Chamaraja Odiya with us today in our campus. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais, and thank you one and all.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಇದೀಗ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಬಹುಪ್ರಮುಖ ಘಟ್ಟ. ರಾಜವಂಶಸ್ಥರು ಯದುವೀರ ಕೃಷ್ಣದತ್ತ ಚಾಮರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರ್, ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳನ್ನು ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ.
Honorary General Secretary and President of this program, Dr. Uday P. Krishna, Chairman of the Governing Council, Mr. B.A. Anantram, Principal Professor Soumya Irappa, other Principal Srimati Archana, members of the Managing Committee, trustees of the Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, students, teachers of the Sheshadripuram Degree College, a very good morning to all of you. It's truly a pleasure to be here, to be at this program where we are talking about, which is named Archaeo Dialectics, which is, we are going to be talking about, of course, conserving heritage and the identity that we have around us. It's truly a pleasure to see Mysore colleges, Mysore educational institutions taking up what is a subject not much touched upon. So my many commendations and congratulations to you on that. It is truly a pleasure to see that happening, and It is a privilege to be associated with that. Before I forget, I just wanted to thank you all for the very rousing welcome in the rainy weather of Ashad Masa. It's not a small, it's a very big gesture by all of you to stand out in the rain and welcome me like that. Thank you so much for the very rousing welcome. Lastly, before I start my talk, I'd like to also just give you many, many congratulations on all the work you've done. We just saw the video. I think it is, again, the general social work which people take up is very much needed and should be done. But beyond that, given the fact of our Mysore identity and then the immense history we have in Karnataka and then further on in Bharat itself, it is of immense importance that several of us take up such initiatives to preserve the monuments, and a simple cleaning exercise like what you have done itself is a great gesture towards conserving the heritage, because it highlights it and then secondly allows for it to be preserved for a longer period, and people take notice when it isn't covered in the greenery or whatever may be, so that then people understand what it is to society and what it means to our history. So it is a very great job you all are doing, and my many congratulations to you and gratitude to you for doing such work via your NSS and NCC. Thank you so much for doing that. So while talking of course about heritage, it is important to define and understand why it means so much. The aspect of heritage, often the debate is why is it required in modern times? We have modern facilities, modern everything around us, of course, given to you, modern institutions gives you so much more. And why do you require to preserve everything that was once before that is perhaps or seemingly of no use to you? Well, the first identity, of course, of heritage is identity itself. We need not go to any visual structures such as built heritage. We need not go to culture, etc. We just need to look within our DNA itself. Whether you like it or not, you are carrying the DNA of our forefathers collectively. The color of your eyes, skin, your hair, the way you move, all of those things are inherent in our DNA. Secondary to that is, of course, our characteristics. Many of us, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We may be like our fathers or our mothers, precisely because we pick up all of our characteristics from them. And then, of course, the reason why, beyond the fact that, of course, we pay fees to an institution to give us education today, but why do we give so much more importance to it beyond just that fact and have so much respect to the institution even though there is a transaction? Because as a tertiary sort of formation of our characteristics, our teachers or gurus give us that formation which is inherent and imbibed by us, which goes beyond any financial transaction. So this itself is the heritage that carries on, and you pass this on from your DNA, your parents and your teachers. You pass this on to your forerunners. So you need not go beyond all of that. Identity is poured in, and those aspirations and characteristics of your parents, your teachers, and those that imbibe all of your qualities to make you an adult today is already your heritage inherent in you. And to me, that is, of course, primarily of great value. I'd like to carry on, of course, the work of what my parents and what my teachers have taught me in doing good towards a world and leading, of course, a profound life moving forward and having profound experiences of this life. So when it comes towards what we consider heritage, of course, that is intangible, like our cultural heritage, which, of course, I need not expound to you for those of you who live in Mysore, having witnessed to Dasra and the many other cultural activities we have here. And then, of course, the tangible heritage, which is, as you have done already, the Kalyanis, the temples, then the built structures we have in Mysore, and so on and so forth. Preserving all of this is essentially preserving our identity. The big talk in today's India, of course, is recapturing our civilizational values and ensuring that the civilizational values move forward. We want a modern country, modern facilities. So the true nature of what we need going forward is, of course, a hybrid. The colonial era, as we say, moving forward, a lot of the strives that Mysore Kingdom did was to preserve the local identity, but building a hybrid, taking what was good from the Western culture, rejecting all that was bad, and taking all that was good from our own culture, and then putting that forward and melding it into a hybrid. And that is essentially the Mysore heritage that we have in our city. So when we look at that preserving forward, and the message we want to take from that is, again, today, while we build new structures and we build new identities, how do we preserve that heritage coming from, of course, what is the most ancient civilization in India, to now a country that is, wanting to set itself among the world superpowers and have a global identity. And essentially, the answer to that is in preserving our heritage itself. The Mysore heritage structures, it's beyond that, of course, the temples and the Kalyanis and whatnot you have done, is conserving the aspiration, identity, characteristics of all of the people that have gone there. Thousands, lakhs of people have gone to these temples, have utilized the Kalyani as a water source to improve their daily life or to gain some sort of solace from a spiritual institution. Even Mysore educational institutions now have tremendous heritage value in the fact that they are so many hundreds of years old itself. So preserving heritage is essentially preserving our identity and then honoring our ancestors' aspirations, their ideals, their characters, and what they wanted for us at a time when they weren't there for us to lead such profound lives as they did. So that is the essence of preserving history and our heritage. And I must note on the Kalyani aspect itself, just to use an example, many of you may know that before the English were able to completely colonize the country, they carried out vast studies of India. And one of the notable points that they noted was the Bangalore-Mysore area, that is the Deccan Plateau, even though being sparse with water, was the most water-sufficient area in all of the country according to that report. This is primarily because of one fact, because of the technology of our ancestors in preserving water, lake system, the Raj colorways, the dams, and of course, as you have already done, the Kalyanis itself. So this aspect of what I'm trying to highlight with this example is essentially that these Kalyanis have preserved an ancient purpose. They are a technology which has been utilized by our ancestors for thousands of years and can still be of utilization today if repurposed in the right way. We can go to the ancient town of Melkote itself, which is very near Mysore, and I urge you all to go there. It's a living, still going on spiritual temple town. But there is a lot of technology inside there which people don't realize. The number of Kalyanis from right to the top of Yadugiri Hill, right all the way down, they say around 108 tanks, and there are many more, is essentially a filtration system. Of course, in today's world, we try to focus on the religious aspect, but most of it, if not 90% of it, is hardly anything to do with spirituality or religious, but preserving water in what is one of the higher areas of of the Mysore Mandya belt. So the water filters all the way down. Of course, now the many filtration systems are clogged, which were there from many hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But nonetheless, if it is cleaned up and allowed to work as it should, the water system will filter as it comes down to the various Kalyanis and provide clean drinking water at various stages, as well as for agrarian activities and what else may be needed. So I urge you to look just beyond the heritage fact of simply spirituality or religion, which is immensely important, but also the technology aspect of it and all of the means people devised in those days to sustain themselves and which can be still of tremendous utility today. And lastly, and most importantly, I think going forward, and I cannot stress this enough, heritage itself is completely environment friendly. One of the main arguments I've been making, if some of you may be following for the Devraja and Lansdowne market, is the fact that preserving both of the structures is the best for the environment going forward. The act of demolishing the structures, rebuilding in today's materials of RCC concrete, is completely against what would be an ethically, environmentally correct thing. Firstly, these buildings are built out of what is the Sunnagare, which is ideal for this environment. It's a very cooling and very sort of a mortar that is completely environment friendly, at the same time suited for our Deccan, Mysore, Bangalore environment. It provides cool structures. The other aspect is it's not a great weight on the ground below. It doesn't require a huge digging up of earth below and disrupting the geography that is underneath. And it therefore is just inherently very good for the environment. And the same runs for everything else as you go. Preserving our Kalyanis, preserving those temples essentially means that the ancient systems which were in vogue with environment continue to be so. modern structures cannot utilize because of the huge resources required, can take a huge strain on the environmental side of things while building new structures. So it is of immense importance even to preserve heritage from an environmental angle. So these are the primary points I wanted to make today regarding conserving our heritage, beyond the fact that, of course, our Mysore economy is in very big deal dependent on it just for the sake of tourism. The whole idea of Mysore is built around, or a large section of the economy of Mysore is built around the fact that we are a heritage city, a cultural city. So if that isn't motivation enough, here are all of these points that are intrinsic to all of us being Mysoreans. Once again, I thank you all. I look forward to the interactive session to interact with all of you and share my thoughts and perhaps be of some assistance to you going forward. Thank you so much once again, and thank you to the administration and all of you for having me here today. Please, all of you have a very good day.
ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಸಂದೇಹಗಳನ್ನು ಪರಿಹರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಅವಕಾಶವಿದೆ.
Good morning, Your Highness. I, Nitin, from second year BCom, a NSS volunteer, and this is my question. How can a students can be connected with restoration activities even after leaving the college? What's your advice to the students in association with history, culture, and heritage? Thank you.
Thank you. So essentially, what I would say, and I mean, I say this with some restraint in the sense, in today's environment and in today's system, there is always a means when there is something anti-heritage happening and you think it deserves conservation. There are some structures certainly that require to be updated and maybe in such a dilapidated state that they do require reconstruction. But if you think, such as in Devraja Market and Lansdowne, that they do require some sort of conservation effort and it can be conserved and be of utility today, then I think the first step is, of course, activism, to be involved. So when there is drives, when there is heritage drives towards conservation, please come and take part, have a hoarding. It is a huge, huge support for all of us who are leading the charge. Activism is today's sort of, it's a very fiery word today. There is a lot of negativity around it and a lot of positivity around it. But utilized in the right way, peacefully, non-violent sort of activism towards stressing your point without, creating any nuisance towards society or towards our city, can be a very powerful means of getting your message across and getting action taken towards what you want done. So that would be, I say, always pay attention. Today's social media, the connectivity we have is something where you can always be connected to such activities and you can continue to be a part of it. And second thing is, I would urge you, INTAC has a huge nexus around India. They have a chapter in Mysore as well. Become a member and understand how you can take part in activities. And you can that is perhaps India's best heritage conservation, especially for our built heritage foundation there is in INTAC. And Mysore has a newly minted chapter about 2 or 3 years old, which you can very much be a part of, a member of, and be a contributing aspect of that going forward. And then, of course, the last thing is whatever your practice may be, not just maybe for an architect or an archaeologist, beyond that, even if you are, in the financial world or whatever you may be, you can find always means to support heritage activities, etc., by just being actively a part of it. So I think that is what I would say. And with regards to association with history, the primary and firstmost aspect is be aware of the history around you. We are, of course, thought of the entire history of Bharat, but there is a lot of history. If you just poke around right outside Mysore, I use Melkote as an example, tremendous history there. Srirangpatna, has a tremendous history of many dynasties before us, before Tipu, before then our sovereign era there, before that the Hoysalas and even the Gangas, all of them have had history in Srirangpatna. So it has tremendous history just beyond the big names that were associated at this time. Learn about all of that and then understand the history around you. So I think that is the first step towards being connected with restoration activities as well as associated with history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Highness. I'm Abhinya from second year BCA. My question is, why is history as an academic discipline ignored in present days?
I mean, your proof that it is, your college's proof that it isn't being ignored, taken the fact that you are conducting these activities. I think there is a lot of factors beyond just blaming, educational institutions or education policy as a whole by the government. We went through, of course, after gaining independence, a lot of time of rebuilding the country and reassessing and coming to this thing. So certain things which were considered extremities like history or even heritage, etc., took a back seat. Because first and foremost was ensuring that we had our plates were full, there were roof over our heads, etc., etc. So it naturally that took a step back is my belief, and it was just the course of things. Now that I believe India is on such a firm footing and we understand these aspects, it is now, I think, imperative that education policy strives or some sort of aspect of it comes in now. And again, in today's setup, in today's environment that we have, it is up to the student and up to, of course, the citizen to strive to exert these things. So as a student, you can, of course, impress upon your professors to take it up to policy level, or as citizens itself, via activism, via positive activism, you can stress to the government to take it up via policy again. So I think that is the way we should go forward. Looking at it in a negative sense of why it's not there is of no help to anybody. I think primarily you need to look at how you can make that change. And there is a belief that only singularly you cannot help. I think that is also a false thing. You can be a big change maker yourself going forward.
Thank you.
Very good morning, Your Highness. I am Ryan from first year BBA. What's your opinion on tribes of Karnataka and tribe people in relation to the cultural heritage?
Sorry, times of, you said?
Tribes of Karnataka in relation to the cultural heritage.
So, I mean, essentially when we talk about our cultural heritage, you are talking about the many festivities you see in the public sphere, etc. Cultural heritage extends to beyond that and just the simple festivities we do at all of our homes. I mean, we all celebrate even Gauri Ganesha and many other festivities at home. And that is inherently itself preserving a culture beyond anything else what is publicly done. So I think pretty much from that angle coming forward, preserving it at your own house is itself a big help. Can you please reiterate the first part of your question?
What's your opinion on
Yes,
tribes of Karnataka and tribe people in relation to the cultural heritage?
It says historical monuments being, in any case, preserving cultural heritage in cities such as Mysore is of tremendous importance, and we need to do so actively by all of us. And this goes beyond just what is done, say, in the palace or by the government. It should be done in each and every home.
Thank you, Your Highness.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Majesty. I'm Lata Singh of First BCA, and my question is, what is your take on historical monuments being neglected, destroyed, and vandalized?
Yeah, so it's of course a big and a running topic here in Mysore. Again, harkening back to what I talked about the Devraja market and the Lansdowne Bazaar, and then beyond that, of course, many of our old Kalyanis, temples, the smaller ones which are being neglected, so on and so forth. Again, I would like to stress, as much as we would like to blame those in authority, etc., it's again up to us to take up the drive. We cannot sit on that blaming them and let everything go. If it's neglect, I believe the blame again is on us as a society for not taking up as much importance as we should. And I think the first step you as a college have already done in cleaning it up and making aware that such structures exist. And such structures deserve our appreciation and deserve the right to be cleaned and kept neatly so that we may enjoy them as is. So I think, of course, being neglected by government or by those in power is not a good thing, but at the same time, we as a society need to take it up, given the fact of the system that we are in, to uphold these monuments or keep them in a state that is worthy of what they are. As far as destroyed or vandalized by vandalizers or some miscreants, that aspect of it, of course, should be very strictly enforced, that such structures are of tremendous value for us. Beyond the heritage aspect, etc., it is also our cultural wealth, our heritage wealth that we have here in India. So vandalizing or destroying it by, say a miscreant or somebody, looking for some sort of economical benefit from it is something that should be looked at, and especially if they are vandalizing, should be something that should be addressed as a criminal act.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Good morning, Your Highness. I'm Manoj of second year BCA. My question is that there are many temples and shrines which are getting ruined day by day. And both the state and the national archaeological departments are failing to conserve them. In this regard, can we collaborate with foreign institutions such as Archaeological Institute of America, Tel Aviv University, or even Cambridge University in order to conserve these places of heritage?
I mean, certainly you can, and I'm sure they have technologies, etc., which will be of assistance to us. But again, I cannot stress enough the fact that we need to be self-dependent. The whole mantra of the last 10 years has been make in India self-sufficiently, and all of these ideas of Atmanirbhar Bharat and all of these things. The same applies to our heritage. If we do not take the first step towards conserving it, having the technologies ourselves to conserve it, and then having the awareness within our society of the need to conserve it and the means to conserve it to some degree, then there is no use and no foreign power can help us. Certainly as a collaborative partner, we are always open to it in global unity, etc. But our structures are uniquely our own and have technology or have idiosyncrasies that are uniquely our own. Our build structures are much more older in many cases than many Western structures. They might be in the hundreds of years old, ours are in the thousands of years old. So our technology, etc., itself required to conserve it is of tremendously different. And lastly, I think looking at sort of being in this heritage field and conservation of build structures or even cultural heritage conservation, etc., the knowledge is already here and the means to do it. So while certainly we look towards collaboration and the requirement of foreign agencies towards helping us, I would say firstly let us build our own institutions and build our own innovations or entrepreneurial activities in every sphere beyond just heritage. And certainly collaboration is a great thing, but we should look to our own selves for fixing our own problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Highness. My name is Vaishali Bagul from final year BBA. My question is, conservation of cultural heritage in Mysore city by modernized youth is a difficult task. So what is your advice for modern youth?
In my view, it's certainly not a difficult task. So our cultural identity, our civilizational values, etc., is pretty much embedded in our constitution itself. Our constitution is an amalgamation of all of the civilizational values that we have. The idea that we are secular has been a trait of our country for thousands of years. We welcomed the Jews, we welcomed so many other faiths to find a home here and accepted all of them. The fact that we are, even if you look at it, certain schools of our dharma are very socialist in nature and do not want to be at all viewed as a religious identity. So the fact that we have our cultural identity requires to be preserved or requires some sort of differentiation for modernity is, I think, in many ways a farce. Certainly, modern world and modern dynamics play a great role in sort of making us global citizens, and our aspirations are different. But I see now that, a realized India, and now that we have many more resources at our hand, and we have, of course, the global community to sort of push us on, we can certainly see towards preserving our local identity and local culture much more, because that's what differentiates us in a increasingly global world. So the fact that we look towards identity and towards what makes us different itself is a motivating factor. And secondly, I mean, beyond all of that, it's pride in our local culture. I mean, if you do not have that as youth, which I think all of us have, certainly, it is the first thing that we will have. It's a good way. I mean, pride, of course, has many negative connotations, but in this sense, it's a really good thing to be prideful or vain, in the sense that our culture is so great that we require to preserve it and appreciate other cultures as well. So I think by modernized youth, etc., I think more and more of us are paying attention to culture. And proof of it, again, to stress, has been seen by your college in their activities. The fact that you are taking up the cleaning of the Kalyanis and the temples itself is a fact that as modern youths you are taking towards preserving some of your built heritage, and thereby, of course, maybe resuscitating the cultural heritage as well.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Good morning, Your Highness. My name is Kalpana Nahar from final year BBA, and my question is, the common people are unaware and forgetful about their land's age-old heritage. How to create a historical sense and culture awareness among them?
So the first and greatest aspect, of course, is pay attention in your history class would be a nice way to put it. I certainly had interest in history from day one, and I understand if you don't. It's not necessary that we all are in tune with every subject. There are some of us who like maths, some of us who like science, and some of us who like the social sciences as well. It so happened that I had interest in it. So when you have interest in it, and certainly I think the social sciences especially is something when you mature a bit and you learn to appreciate these facts. And you may not get into it wholeheartedly or as much as, you may not have as much interest. But I think the first and foremost thing is perhaps be aware of, even if you don't want to be of the whole history of the entire world or even of India itself, local history and local traditions around you and the history supporting that. I always say in Bangalore, the Karaga festival, I use it as an example. It has been a sort of largely looked at as a religious festival, and it is largely a religious festival. But the act again is tied to the fact that Bangalore was such a water sufficient area and the fact that we need to preserve that water. So the act of pulling the, as they say, the mannu or the soil from the Sampangi tank, which used to be there, now is converted to, of course, the Kantirva Stadium, was an environmental act of desilting taken by the community that were horticulturalists. And they, to this day, the same community continue to uphold that festival. So essentially, when you look at it in that sense, preserving and understanding your local traditions is what will allow you to greatly appreciate and then continue to strive to uphold it and pass it on to your next generations when you know about the fact of the history of this tradition. And there are many such traditions here in Mysore, surrounding Mysore, in Bangalore, etc. And that is the first step of understanding, is pay attention to your local history and your local traditions, even if you do not want to perhaps look at the whole of history.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Highness.
Good morning.
I'm Inchara J of 2nd BBA, and my question is, it is shocking that only a handful of educational institutions patronize conservation of historical monuments. Students are not voluntarily driven to do such kind of deed. What's your say on this?
Well, certainly it's a change we need to bring about. You see many of the educational institutions in Mysore itself, case in point, University of Mysore. It is one of the heritage institutions in Mysore. It has a number of heritage buildings under its care. And if the university could take many means towards heritage conservation and within its architectural courses, or even as a means of preserving or the importance of it in tourism, etc. The university itself could be a great starting point for preserving heritage. You see, of course, the heritage they have in the Oriental Library, which is, I think, one of the most valuable assets Mysore has. The many buildings that make up Krishnaja Boulevard, the Jayalakshmi Vilas Mansion, which is the center of Manas Gangotri. Preserving all of these and then having an inherent education system or an education set of courses towards preserving it will be self-sustaining for the University of Mysore itself and for the city of Mysore itself. So certainly educational institutions require to be at the forefront of this, and especially educational institutions which are tied to the heritage, such as in Mysore or any other city, require to be at the forefront of this going forward. So certainly I think that would be a point of discussion and something that we should all strive towards.
Thank you, Rai.
Thank you.
ಇಂದು ನಾವು ಗುರುತಿಸುವ ಪುರಾತನ ಕಟ್ಟಡಗಳು ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿಗಳು ಅಂದು ಜನಜೀವನದ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದ್ದು, ಇವುಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿಬಿಂಬಿಸುವ ಅಭೂತಪೂರ್ವವಾದ ಸ್ಮಾರಕಗಳು. ಇವುಗಳ ರಕ್ಷಣೆಯ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಮ್ಮ ಅಪೂರ್ವ ನುಡಿಗಳಿಂದ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ ಮಹಾರಾಜರಿಗೆ ಗೌರವ ವಂದನೆಗಳು.
We are honored and privileged to have among us our source of inspiration, a transformational leader with a rare blend of a technocrat, educationist, social activist, and humanist, Nadoja Dr. Udepi Krishna, Honorary General Secretary, Sheshadripuram Educational Institutions. He is also the Honorable President of Karnataka Gandhi Samsthan. Dr. Krishna is the recipient of the President's Gold Medal, the highest national award given for Red Cross humanitarian work of high order in 2012 from the Honorable President of India, and the prestigious State Rajyotsava Award in 2004 for social work from the Government of Karnataka. In the year 2020, he has been conferred with prestigious Nadoja Award, which is equivalent to honorary degree of Doctor of Literature given by Kannada University, Hampi. I now request our Honorary General Secretary, Nadoja Dr. Udepi Krishna, to address the gathering.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಮಹಾರಾಜರಾದ ಯದುವೀರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣದತ್ತ ಚಾಮರಾಜ್ ಒಡೆಯರ್ರವರೇ, ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದ ಶ್ರೀ ಬಿ ಎ ಅನಂತರಾಮ್ರವರೇ, ಪ್ರಾಂಶುಪಾಲರುಗಳಾದ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸೌಮ್ಯ ಐರಪ್ಪ ಅವರೇ, ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಅವರೇ, ಮಹಾರಾಜರ ಆಪ್ತ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಗಳಾದ ಶ್ರೀ ರಘುರವರೇ, ಶ್ರೀ ಎಸ್ ವಿವೇಕ್ರವರೇ, ಶ್ರೀ ಡಿ ಎನ್ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ರವರೇ, ಧರ್ಮದರ್ಶಿಗಳಾದಂಥ ಶ್ರೀ ಲೋಕನಾಥ್ರವರೇ, ಶಶಾಂಕ್ರವರೇ, ಅಶೋಕ್ರವರೇ, ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಸದಸ್ಯರುಗಳಾದಂಥ ಶ್ರೀ ಅನಿಲ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ರವರೇ, ಶ್ರೀ ರವಿಶಂಕರ್ರವರೇ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಾಯ ಮಿತ್ರರೇ ಹಾಗೂ ನನ್ನ ನೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿನಿಯರೇ, ಇವತ್ತು ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿಪುರಂ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ 92 ವರ್ಷದ ಇತಿಹಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಗುರುತು ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ದಿನ. ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಉಪಯುಕ್ತವಾದಂಥ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡುವುದರ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಶೀರ್ವದಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. The other word for benevolence was the Mysore rulers. This is what history tells us. Today is Swami Vivekananda's Samadhi day. This day he left his mortal coil in 1902. ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರಿಗೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಂತದ್ದು ಮೈಸೂರು ಮಹಾರಾಜರು. ಅವರ ಅಮೇರಿಕದ ಯಾತ್ರೆಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದವರು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಪತ್ರವನ್ನು ಬರೀತಾರೆ ಮೈಸೂರು ಮಹಾರಾಜರಿಗೆ. ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅಭೂತಪೂರ್ವವಾದಂಥ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಲೆಟರ್ ಟು ದ ಮಹಾರಾಜ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಸೇಸ್, ದೇ ಅಲೋನ್ ಲಿವ್ ಹೂ ಲಿವ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್, ದ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಡೆಡ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಲೈವ್ ಅನ್ನುವ ಮಾತು. ಅದರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನೆನೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪಿತ ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಗಾಂಧಿಯವರು ಮೈಸೂರು ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನವನ್ನು ರೆಫರ್ಡ್ ಟು ಇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಅ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್. ಅದನ್ನು ರಾಮರಾಜ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಿದ್ದನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಇಂತಹ ಪ್ರಜಾಪರ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ ಮೈಸೂರಿನವರು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನಾದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಭಾವಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯವರು, ನಾವು ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ವೆರಿ ಫಾರ್ಚುನೇಟ್. ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ 1943ರಲ್ಲಿ 2.5 ಎಕರೆ ಪ್ರದೇಶ ಜಾಗವನ್ನು, 4 ಕಡೆ ರೋಡ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಶೇಷಾದ್ರಿಪುರಂ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಜಾಗವನ್ನು ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಆಗಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಯಚಾಮರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಪ್ರಭುಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಜಾಗವನ್ನು ದಾನವಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೂ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ ಆ ಒಂದೇ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ 8,000 ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು 24,500 ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಶ್ರಯ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸುಮಾರು 1,300 ಜನ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 34 ವಿದ್ಯಾಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿವೆ. 4 ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಶಿಶು ವಿಹಾರದಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು PhD ನಮ್ಮ ಅನೇಕ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ಗಳಿವೆ. ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ರಾಜಾಶ್ರಯದಿಂದ ಬೆಳೆದಂಥ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಇದೊಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅಪರೂಪದ ಅವಕಾಶ ನಾನು ಮಹಾರಾಜರ ಸನ್ನಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಮಂಡಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವೆರಿ ಪ್ರೌಡ್ ಟು ಟೆಲ್ ಯು, ಯುವರ್ ಹೈನೆಸ್, that we have produced great alumni like Swami Gautamananji Maharaj, the Vice President of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, and Dr. Virendra Heggade, who is the Dharmadhikari of Shri Kshetra Dharmasthala. All these people have studied in our institutions, and all these things have brought us a lot of satisfaction in this last journey of 92 years. And two main things are our goals. One is to give quality education at affordable price, and second thing is to produce socially productive citizens. And I'm very happy this program. I must particularly commend our NSS wing here in this college, particularly under the leadership of Professor Soumya Irappa and Dr. Raghavendra. Both of them have got state awards last year. They have done commendable work, particularly in the conservation of these ancient monuments and relics in the city of Mysore. This has brought us a lot of glory, and it is only because of this work that His Highness chose to come to our institution and address you all. Therefore, we should be recognized more by our work than anything else. And I am very happy. And in fact, after listening to His Highness' speech, the one thought of Thomas Carlyle came up to me, and that is, history after all is the true poetry. They who are gone are still there. Though hidden, they are revealed. Though dead, they yet speak. Therefore, don't think these monuments and relics have no value. They have life in them. All that we have to get inside, go deep into the matter, dig into the very soul of those monuments, and you will know, as rightly told by our Maharaja, it is nothing but, what he was telling, that is, these heritage, they are a part of our life. They are a part of our DNA, he was telling. So these are not just in the relics that we find. All our ancestors have enjoyed them. They have all seen them. They have been a part of those societies, of those cultures, and today we are absorbing them, and therefore they are very much truly our own, and we must all truly own them. And that is what was being told so nicely by him. And today, somehow unfortunately in the educational institutes, I find there is a lot of dwindling in the students taking up studies of social science and things like that, and even studies of humanities. This is not good for a healthy society. Technology, no doubt, is important, but culture is as important as technology, and that we shouldn't be forgetting. And and he was telling how the Mysore Maharajas, they, while building all these structures, kept in mind the good of the local architecture as well as the all that was best of even the Western architecture, and then created those monuments for the good of the people. So he also said one thing that we should not ignore, the technology side of the monuments. Every monument has behind them a lot of technology to tell. Today we are seeing them only as spiritual and religious structures, but then they have deep technological meaning. Don't think our people were not tech savvy in those days. They had very brilliant ideas, and that is how, and the way they created these monuments, particularly with the perspective of what I call sustainability in mind. And therefore he also told us, they see heritages are environmental friendly. This is a great thought. I think all of you need to ruminate on this. And he was also telling restoration should be not with modern materials, but we should go back to the very old materials with which they were done, and we should be able to restore them because they were all environmental friendly and they were all sustainable. There's a very good, valid point that His Highness told us and enlightened us. And finally, he was telling us that ultimately activism is important. Every citizen should own all these things, and when there is some damage to some structure, we should all stand up and say we should come together and protect those monuments. If we do not protect our heritage, our culture, what are we going to hand over to the next generation is the question. And ultimately, awareness is the key. Therefore, the more and more you dig into history, read history, and then try to understand our relics and monuments around us, our life will be more richer, and our life will definitely we will be culturally rich, and that is what is the whole cornerstone of his talk. Sir, we are really very grateful to you for having come to our institution and blessed us on this momentous occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for enlightening us more on about importance of our history and monuments. Thank you, sir.
ಇದೀಗ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಕೊನೆಯ ಘಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ದೈಹಿಕ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸೇವಾ ಯೋಜನೆಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಾದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಅವರು ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆಯನ್ನು ನೆರವೇರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ದಿನ ನಾವು ಸ್ಮಾರಕಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಅವುಗಳ ಉಳಿಸೋಣ ಮತ್ತು ಮುಂದಿನ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ NSS ವಿಭಾಗದಿಂದ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಮಹಾರಾಜರವನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಪುರಾತನ ಸ್ಮಾರಕಗಳನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸುವ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಗೃತಿಯನ್ನು ಮೂಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅವರು ಒಪ್ಪಿಕೊಂಡು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿರುವಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಡಿನ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧರಾದಂಥ ನಾಡೋಜಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಉಡುಪಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬೆನ್ನೆಲುಬಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು NSSನ ಕಾರ್ಯಚಟುವಟಿಕೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹನ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದಾಗ ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೆನ್ನು ತಟ್ಟಿ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಇವತ್ತೇನು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ ರಿವರಿಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಡೋಜಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಉಡುಪಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೈಸೂರು ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದಂಥ B. ಅನಂತರಾಮ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕವಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮತ್ತು ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅವರು ಬೆನ್ನು ತಟ್ಟಿ ಅವರು ಸಹ ಸಹಕರಿಸಿರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ನಾವು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಅಂತ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಶೇಷಾರಿಪುರಂ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟೀಸ್ ಲೋಕನಾಥ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅಶೋಕ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತು ಶಶಾಂಕ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಆದಂಥ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ದತ್ತಿಯ ನಮ್ಮ ರವಿಶಂಕರ್ ಸರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅನಿಲ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಹಾರಾಜರನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿಯಾದಂಥ ರಘು ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಗೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ಅವರು ಆಗಮಿಸಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ತುಂಬ ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ನೆರವೇರಿಸಲಿ ಅವರು ನಮಗೆ ಸಹಕರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ರಘು ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ ರೂವಾರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ನಮಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಮಹಾರಾಜರನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಂಥ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಕಮಿಟಿಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿವೇಕ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ವಿವೇಕ್ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೆ NSS ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಏನು ನಾವು ಈ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡಿನ ಪ್ರಾಧ್ಯಾಪಕರಾದ ಸಿದ್ದಪ್ಪ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗಿದರೆ ದಯವಿಡಿ ಕ್ಷಮಿಸಬೇಕಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರತ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಹಾಗೂ ಪರೋಕ್ಷವಾಗಿ ಶ್ರಮಿಸಿದಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್, ಜೈ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಇದೀಗ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗೀತೆಗೆ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಎದ್ದು ನಿಂತು ಅರುಣ್ ಸರ್.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
बोलो भारत माता की, बोलो भारत माता की, बोलो भारत माता की. ಈಗ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಫೋಟೋ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸರ್ ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ. ಹಾಂ ಸರ್, ಹಾಂ ಒಂದು ಫೋಟೋ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ರೂಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ.